Alright guys, well, I bought this thing, watched all the mods on the YouTube, so I figured I'm going to do my own. Made a little twist on a few. I still have one thing I want to do, and I want to make a little separator plate to put in here, so I have grates all the way across. I'm making also a briquette box, which is going to be 12 by 12 by 7, which will put me towards the top of the opening. And as you can see, I've siliconed everything as I put it together. So the other thing I did too, which most people I've never seen do, I added 2 more bolts that side and 2 more bolts on this side, because there's only 4 when you originally get this Oklahoma Joe's smoker. These 2 and these 2. So I added some more bolts to bolt it up and seal it up, and added some silicone, obviously, and silicone across there. And you can see here, this is part of my baffle plate I built. That's 1.5 inches down. And it's roughly somewhere in a 30-degree-ish angle. I'm guessing. But if you look inside, when I pull the plates out, it's a pretty darn good copy. Sorry for the noise. Pretty darn good copy of the lava lock plates that are stainless steel. I made them out of regular carbon steel from stuff I had from work. It's bolted in, and I figured, you know, if I have problems, I can unbolt it and drill the holes bigger. And at that point, I will make the holes big enough to where they will slide over the bolt heads. But I actually wanted a little more reinforcement for that smoker box. So it's welded in, and I put in some little tab ears on the corners to seal the corners of the box. So instead of putting 45-degree angle plates on the underside to seal it, I just did it on the top side. And I made this removable, obviously. There's a couple little tabs I welded in. And I'm guesstimating on their hole sizes, so I have not yet fired this, and we're going to see what happens when we do. But I've seen a few videos, and the updated video is this kind of hole configuration where it's 555 all the way out until the very end. It's a 4-hole, and we did 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. So we're going to see how this goes. The other thing I did do is, besides building this baffle plate and sealing everything up and adding a few bolts on the firebox, I'm not going to get into adding seals here yet on the firebox or the smoke box. I think that might be a little overkill. It's a smoker, man. Come on. We've sealed this thing up. Firebox to the smoke box. And we've done all kinds of crazy stuff. This thing should work pretty good. If you have to worry about those minute leaks on the doors, there's a problem. The other thing I did do is I made a drop-down pipe for the exhaust, and if you look here, it is really close right to the fire grate, and that pipe is a 3-inch pipe plated off on the end, and it fits right into the side. Now we did have to make a little sleeve to go over the top of the 3-inch to fit it correctly. So there, I took a 3-inch pipe and sliced a 1-inch piece off, and then fitted it over the top of this and tack welded it in. And so there's a tiny little, maybe 3/4 inch gap at the bottom. which I'm not concerned about leaking. Everybody's so concerned about, sealing up the chamber. Good Lord, I don't think it's that drastic. And the reason I did it this way is to keep it out of the way and get it down at the grate. And, hey, I'm a millwright. I work at a steel mill. Here's spare parts, spare plating. And so I just did what I had to do, fixed it all up, plus I was bored. The other thing we did do is the last part of the mod. On the side here, you can see I burned up the paint a little bit, doing some welding, but this door gap is horrible. There is a massive gap here. It's over 1/8 of an inch. So you can't control your fire with this huge gap. And I mean, to go around, and I know it's hard focusing here, but you can see it's good around this side. It's good around the bottom. But up the side and across the top, it's huge. So what we did is we welded a couple little tabs in there. I took some little strip metal, probably 90 thou, and we tack welded that in there to cover the door gap. And that really, I think, is going to make a big difference. To help seal up that firebox. So now we can really control it. The only other thing I did notice I didn't like is where the handle is on this for your gate here. You can see where my finger is. That's where the control knob to open and close it is. I think I'm going to move that. I'm going to grind that off and I'm going to move it because with the door closed, that's all great, but when you go over here, you're only getting a partial opening. Now, is that enough for your stack? And a 3-inch stack might need a little more opening. So, I don't know. I was thinking of moving it over a little bit so I could open this. If I take this off and move it over here more, we'll still be able to close it, but we'll get more opening, get a better draft, and then I can control it better on the stack. I have to run some numbers to see, this opening versus the stack opening, because I see a lot of guys running their stuff with the door open.